This fucking thing working? Cool. Looks good. Yeah, so basically, what I was thinking about the other day, I was talking to a really good friend of mine, and what we were talking about was the problem that you get stuck with at 30 to 50K a month, or even 30 to 100K a month. And for context, if you're watching this and you've never watched, any of my stuff before, basically, I went from, I think, 0 to about, I don't know, we've hit some big months. We've hit like 200K months at this point in just about 2 years. So what we were talking about was what's really the thing that's going to get in your way between 30 to 50K a month? Because I feel like everyone that I speak to, and this is people that are below that level, people that are way above that level, like people that I know that have hit $1 million months and even more than that as well, where you get in this phase where you've hit that kind of revenue cap that you're at. It feels like there's an invisible wall where you just can't break past something and you don't know what's going on. And you almost don't even want to go past that level, which is a big part of it as well. You almost feel like you hit, maybe you're hitting 50K a month consistently, and you're in this phase where you just don't feel like anything really needs to change. And I was talking to my friend, like I said, and he asked, why do people get stuck in that phase, you think? He was like, it seems weird. Why would you get stuck there? Is it and he tried to think that it was a retention issue where it's like, oh, you probably just churn all your clients at that point because, you suck at service delivery. And I was like, I don't know if it is that. It could be a range of things, but probably most importantly, it's that you don't feel like you need to make more money. Because typically what we're talking about in this context is we're talking about people that are probably in their 20s. They're probably, they probably don't have that many responsibilities. They probably don't have that much stuff they have to think about or that they have to answer for or do or anything like that. And let me just see if I can get this to work a bit better before I continue. There we go. It's not as if they need to make that much more money than that. It's like you do have enough. You do have all the things you need to have to live. You can start buying some nice dinners. You can start going to better places. You can stay at a better hotel. Maybe you go to Bali. Maybe you do a Euro summer and you don't have to pinch pennies as much. And it feels pretty good. Like when you're in that phase, that's like super, super goated because you don't need anything more than that. But the problem is that when you're in that phase, eventually it becomes so excruciating that you haven't progressed in a little while that it's like it's almost like there's ants crawling under your skin because you're not pursuing the stuff that you really want to pursue. And a lot of people have somewhat of like an existential crisis at this phase. They almost just have this tension because not only are they kind of plateaued in terms of their motivation, but you also enter this phase where you're so aware of what you don't know and how much you suck as well, because you've made your first money. You probably have some friends that do way more money than you, or you probably talk to people, or you probably see people on the internet that make a lot more money than you. And you're almost painfully aware. It's like, oh, like this is just terrible. And you almost hate your situation way more than you did when you first started, which sounds like an insane thing, but that was exactly where I was at as well. I remember telling my brother, I just hit my biggest month ever in take-home revenue, which was maybe it was a little bit over 100K was my biggest month in take-home revenue, or profit, that is, like actual take-home. And I was like, dude, I hate my situation more than I've ever hated it ever before in my entire life, which was insane because I just made the most amount of money I've ever made. And I just didn't even, it didn't register. It was like, it just sucks so bad still. Because, like I said, you're so aware of what's out there, but you also don't know if you want to get it. You don't really have that clear goal set out yet. And that's just the situation for a few months. And I remember I was talking to a lot of people about this because I was like, does everyone just hit this lapse in motivation? Does everyone just kind of have this, crisis once they solve the money problem? And it seems that it kind of does occur, and it occurs at every different level for different people. But the point of this video is that at this stage when you're not sure what you want to do and you're not sure, do I need to go make more money? Do I need to keep scaling? Do I need to keep my foot on the gas? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? I feel like shit because I know I could be doing way more. I could be going way harder. I know I've made a bit of money right now, but maybe I need to do more. And you kind of have these, like, this is the stuff that actually takes your bandwidth at this level. This is the stuff that literally prevents you from being as productive as you can. And the key for me when I was going through this was just to zoom out and just not take the foot off the gas. I won't say that, but you just have to take your foot off this pressing anxiety that you probably have to continually progress, because it just is one of those things where you have to have a bit of a dose of reality. Like at some stage, you really have to just accept the fact that you are trying to do something that is very, very unheard of if you were trying to make a lot of money in your 20s. Like if you're trying to make a lot of money in your 20s, you're probably trying to progress your income at a rate of like 10x per year. You're trying to 10x your income every single year, sometimes faster than that. And when you're having these racing thoughts or these things that destroy your bandwidth because you're trying to figure out what you want, you're trying to figure out how to get past this plateau or whatever, you have to just see those things and those times as a part of you just sign up for that. Like you sign up for these massive quantum leaps, and you are also by proxy signing up for these times when you just get the shit kicked out of you for a few months in a row, because that's just the reality of the situation. It's just how it works, simply put. And when you get into these, and when you are kind of falling victim to these sorts of mindsets where you don't feel like you're as productive as you could be, like I said, you just have to zoom out, because you are trying to do something that is not heard of. It's not normal. You're trying to do something that's, you know, somewhat remarkable, and you should feel like it is remarkable. And you really have to find that balance between when do I need to be grateful for what I've done and how far I've come and how far I'm going to go, compared to when do I need to feel absolutely poor and like I'm not doing enough. Because that pendulum will absolutely make you or break you. Because like I said, sometimes you're like, oh my God, I'm the worst. I'm a complete idiot. I don't know anything. And then sometimes you probably get a bit too big for your britches at times as well, because, you know, on some level, you kind of have earned that in some ways if you're making that much money and you are in your 20s. So the key of this video is that you have to very carefully manipulate your inputs and manipulate what goes into your brain and the exact sorts of thoughts that you're having at each stage that you're at. Because really what you have to do is progress your identity at a very similar pace to the rate that you progress your income. Because when you start making 10K a month or start making 50K a month, it's probably because your identity got there first. And there's this constant, like, your revenue grows, your identity grows, your revenue grows, your identity grows, or your profit grows or whatever. And the game that you're actually in is the game of trying to keep those things on par with each other without fucking it up, which is actually very, very difficult. So like I said, this is what you're signing up for. So when you're having these thoughts, it's not irregular, it's not different, it's not crazy. You just have to accept that these things are going to occur. And it's kind of a bit stoic. It's a little bit stoic pilled. And I would encourage you to get into that if you are going through a situation like this where you kind of are figuring out what you want and what's going to get you to the next level. You kind of do have to just be like, oh, well, holy shit, I'm doing something that no one in my family's ever done. No one that I personally know has ever done. And that if I told myself I was going to do it 2 years ago, that I would be in this position, I'd probably say, fuck you, you're bullshitting. That's not true. So when you look at these things, it's like, okay, I'm in a position now that I never thought I was going to be in, and it's kind of lit, but at the same time, I kind of feel like shit at the same time. You have to just think, okay, let's just go back completely to the bare bones of what is going to make me more money or what is going to get me towards my goal. Okay, well, it's probably doing outreach. It's probably running ads. It's probably hiring people. It's probably doing X, Y, and Z. And you have to just completely detach all the emotion from it. Because the reason that these things pierce your bandwidth, and I use the word pierce because it is like a little fracture almost. It's like you get a little tiny fracture in your bandwidth, but it actually destroys your productivity. And if you're going through this, you'll know what I mean, because it's a disproportionate thing in terms of the size of the problem versus how much it kills your bandwidth. So you're going through this thing and you really need to just try your best to detach from these sorts of emotions and really, really focus down on the inputs. And that's in terms of what you're actually focusing on, your health, your sleep, doing things like gratitude. And like I said, manipulating the thoughts you have and the inputs you have based on whether you need to gas yourself up more and get a bit more confident, or whether you need to be a bit more grateful for your situation because you're too doomer-pilled and you've been comparing yourself to too many people online. And it's not a fix-all solution, because sometimes, like I said, you'll have those times where you feel like an idiot, and sometimes you'll have those time periods where you feel like you're a little bit better than you actually are. And you need to just kind of try and keep these things on par with each other, and just kind of try and keep a little bit close to having a balanced outlook at all times. And this is a little bit hippy-dippy, but it's one of those specific problems where you inevitably hit. You inevitably hit this at some point. There's not a single person that I know that hasn't hit this at some revenue level, 500K, 50K, whatever. Like, I feel like everyone that I've spoken to can resonate with this. So the only thing you don't want to do is kind of panic, because you are going to go through these sorts of, like, I don't know what the fuck's going on type moments. And that's what I mean when I say, like, what did you sign up for? Like, you're trying to progress at 10x per year. If you told a corporate worker that they were going to progress their income 10x per year, they would probably have a heart attack because they'd be thinking, fuck, I get like a 2% raise per annum. And that's not to be disrespectful to that type of worker, but that's just the reality. If you are in that situation, like, number one, you need to be very grateful and not get psyoped by these dickheads online that are going to tell you that if you're not making 500K a minute, you're an idiot. And the second part of that is that you have to accept that if you are going to go outside of the norm, there are going to be, there's going to be a bit of turbulence on that journey. Like, it's not going to be a straight line. And I do think it's underrepresented in what people make content about, which is why I'm making this video. But at the same time, you also have to realize that people aren't just going to talk about their struggles all the time, because if they did, you wouldn't give a fuck about them. Like, when people whine and weep too much, it's like, shut up, I don't care. Make me some money, like, give me some value. You know what I'm saying? So you don't really care. Like, the reason it's underrepresented and people don't talk about it is because there's no point. There's no actual benefit to doing it. But the reason for this video is just to say you shouldn't panic. You should just be thinking, this is going to make me better, and this is going to be a part of my journey. And it's just a trial and tribulation, just a little bit of turbulence. So the lesson in there is to just chill the fuck out and focus on the inputs a little bit more. And I'm going to post this video just because I know there's at least going to be one person that's going to be like, yeah, that was true. Yeah, that's true. And they'll just admit that, fuck, you got me, it's true. So let me know if this was helpful, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one, I guess.